Meet Alex. After exactly one decent coffee date, a date where honestly the absolute highlight was simply agreeing that oat milk is okay, Alex had already mentally planned the wedding, picked out the suburban house, and yep, named their future golden retriever. We've all been there, right? Or at least we know someone exactly like this. It's that overwhelming, almost tidal wave of feeling where you just kind of know this is the one, or this is the perfect job, before you actually know anything at all. Today, we're diving into this explainer to explore the fascinating psychology of early obsession. We're going to break down the deeply ingrained the mental mechanics that caused this sudden rush, and we'll look at how understanding these hidden drivers helped Alex eventually break this exact cycle.
So I want to ask you, have you ever become emotionally attached incredibly fast? Think about how it usually happens. A new relationship sparks, a career opportunity suddenly pops up, or you set a brand new, super ambitious goal. Within mere days, or honestly, sometimes even hours, your mind is just completely racing ahead. For years, Alex just thought of themselves as a hopeless romantic, Someone with a big heart who got deeply invested almost overnight. But the reality was, it felt entirely out of their control. It was an exhausting roller coaster, because when you get your hopes up that fast, the drop that follows when reality doesn't quite match up with the fantasy, well, it's devastating. So, what is actually going on in the brain during those crucial early days?
Well, it turns out psychology tells us a completely different story than the romanticized one we tell ourselves. This early obsession isn't just your heart running away with you, it's practically a mechanical hijack by your brain. You see, our brains evolved with these really specific, built-in survival systems designed to heavily reward us when we latch onto shiny new things that represent potential success or connection. So when Alex was already naming that golden retriever, it wasn't an excess of emotion. It was deep, predictable, mechanical patterns going to work. The brain actively alters our perception of reality, basically sidelining logic in favor of a highly motivated biological drive.
Let's move to Section 1, Chasing Dopamine and Potential, the Chemistry of What Could Be.
We so often think of dopamine as the finish line reward, right? Like it's the chemical high we get when we actually achieve the goal, get the job offer, or secure the relationship. But psychologically speaking, human beings evolved to be so incredibly reward-driven that anticipation often feels significantly better than the reality itself. Dopamine is a chemical released not just by achieving something, but by merely imagining the possibility of it. When Alex got a very simple, slightly delayed text message back, their brain absolutely flooded with dopamine. Not because of what was actually said, it was literally just a smiley face emoji, but because of what it could mean. The brain starts throwing this huge chemical party for an imagined future, which means the emotional attachment begins long before anything is actually certain.
Psychologically, the brain absolutely hates empty space. It craves a complete picture. So when there are gaps in information, which, let's face it, is always the case with something brand new, it aggressively builds castles in that empty space. Comparing facts versus possibilities reveals exactly how this trap works. If someone shows just a hint of promise or a tiny bit of attention, your mind acts like a blockbuster movie director with an unlimited budget, creating a sprawling, cinematic story around them. The facts might simply be that they held the door open and smiled, but the possibility your brain creates is a lifetime of perfect, conflict-free partnership. You aren't actually falling in love with the person or the job in front of you. You're falling in love with the possibilities.
Which brings us to Section 2, the craving for comfort. Why emotionally deprived minds attach faster. The brain treats emotional comfort like relief. This single concept was Alex's massive breakthrough realization. During a particularly lonely, stressful year where work was overwhelming and personal connection was virtually zero, Alex realized they were attaching to absolutely anyone who offered even a crumb of validation. Because when you're operating from a place of emotional deprivation, your baseline is discomfort. So when a tiny bit of positive attention finally comes your way, your brain doesn't just register it as nice. No, it registers it as a life raft intensity long before any real trust has been established.
And this process follows a very specific mental progression. Step 1. Uncertainty is deeply uncomfortable, and frankly, it triggers immense anxiety. We really hate not knowing where things stand. Step 2. To make that gnawing anxiety stop, the brain demands instant reassurance. Rather than slowly observing reality, letting a connection naturally play out, and gathering actual evidence over time, we try to forcefully grab for certainty, which leads to Step 3. We emotionally commit way too early simply to reduce our own fear of the unknown. It's totally a defense mechanism. But the deep irony here is that by rushing to lock down this early emotional commitment just to cure our anxiety, we are setting the stage for the exact kind of heartbreak and disappointment we were trying to avoid in the first place. Now for Section 3, when fantasy becomes reality,
the power of imagination over observation. Early obsession is completely fueled by hyperactive imagination. Think about the habits we quickly fall into. You find yourself obsessively replaying a simple 5-minute conversation, analyzing every single word and pause for some kind of hidden meaning. You start imagining future vacations, holiday dinners, and shared apartments with someone you literally just met last Tuesday. What is happening here is that you are actively, mentally creating a profound sense of emotional closeness entirely by yourself, sitting alone in an empty room. Fantasy thinking just takes the wheel, completely overriding the simple, grounded observation of what is actually happening in the physical world around you.
And here is a truly astonishing psychological fact. The human brain can become emotionally attached to imagined experiences almost as strongly as real ones. Just let that sink in for a second. Your brain is reacting to the highly detailed, romanticized blockbuster movie you are playing in your head as if it were undeniable physical reality. The exact same neural pathways are firing, the same stress and reward hormones are pumping. This completely explains why emotional attachment can grow so rapidly and feel so incredibly fierce, even when the actual opportunity or relationship barely exists yet outside of your own thoughts. Let's wrap things up with Section 4, Understanding the Human Mind, Changing How We See Behavior. By finally recognizing these hidden drivers, the powerful dopamine chase, the deep craving for comfort, and that endless fantasy loop, Alex actually learned how to hit the brakes. They started observing actual facts instead of falling blindly for potential. When the sudden urge to plan the wedding after a simple coffee date popped up, Alex recognized it as a biological pattern, not destiny, and eventually broke the cycle of early obsession entirely. So how will understanding these hidden drivers change how you view your very next interaction? The next time you feel that sudden, overwhelming surge of excitement, will you get completely swept away by the fantasy, or will you pause and recognize the mental mechanics at play? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer and exploring the amazing human mind with me today. Stay curious, and I'll catch you next time.